Hello and welcome to News Round, where you get a recap of top stories that made headlines during the week. Coming up, bandits abduct over 300 school children in Kebbi and Niger states. And the U.S. Congress Subcommittee on Africa holds high-stake hearing on President Donald Trump's redesignation of Nigeria as country of particular concern. And court sentences leader of proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, to life imprisonment. And at least 16 people die as torrential rains unleash severe flooding and landslides across central Vietnam. A news round begins with security issues and a deeply troubling development in Niger State, where a total of 315 children and staff have been abducted by bandits from St. Mary's Private Catholic Primary and Secondary School in Papari in Aguara local government area of the state. Eyewitnesses stated that the gunmen stormed the school at about 4 a.m. on motorcycles and a van on Friday.
Papiri Community, a town in Aguara local government area of Niger State, is the scene of the latest attack in a series of abductions involving school children in Nigeria. The local government borders Kebbi State, where 25 students were recently abducted. According to eyewitnesses, the gunmen stormed St. Mary's Primary and Secondary School, Papiri, in the early hours of Friday and carted away students and teachers in the school. Some residents also give account of what happened. A statement signed by the Secretary to the State Government, Mr. Abubakar Usman, states that the government had directed the suspension of all construction activities and the temporary closure of boarding schools within the affected areas as a proactive safety measure, following credible intelligence indicating elevated security threats across parts of Niger North Senatorial District. According to the statement, this unfortunate incident comes in spite of prior intelligence report obtained by the government indicating an increased threat level in parts of Niger North Senatorial District. In response to these credible security alerts, the state government had earlier issued a clear directive suspending all construction activities and ordering the temporary closure of all boarding schools within the affected zone as a precautionary measure. Regrettably, St. Mary's School proceeded to reopen and resume academic activities without notifying or seeking clearance from the state government, thereby exposing pupils and the staff to avoidable risk. Security agencies have since commenced a full-scale investigation and a search and rescue operation to ensure the safe return of the pupils. The government urges the public to remain calm and cooperate with security agencies by providing any useful information that may aid ongoing efforts to rescue the school children. Also confirming the incident, the police in the state, in a statement signed by its public relations officer, Mr. Wasiu Abiodun, says rescue operations have been deployed and investigations are ongoing into the matter. On its part, the Catholic Diocese of Kontagora, under which jurisdiction the school operates, has called for calm, promising to collaborate with security agencies for the safe release of the abductees. As of the time of reporting, the school is already being evacuated as the remaining staff and students are seen packing their belongings to safety.
And from Niger to Kebbi State, where bandits have reportedly abducted 25 students from the Government Girls Comprehensive Senior Secondary School in Maga, Kebbi State, after killing the school's vice principal, Hassan Makuku. According to the Kebbi State Police Command, heavily armed bandits attacked the school around 4 a.m., opening fire as they forced their way onto the campus. Meanwhile, Governor Nasir Idris of Kebbi State has assured the public that the government and security agencies are doing everything possible to rescue the abducted schoolgirls.
Maga village in Danko Wasagu local government area of Kebbi State shares a border with neighboring Zamfara State in northwest Nigeria. The village hosts comprehensive girls' secondary school from where 25 schoolgirls were abducted in the early hours of Monday morning. A visit to the school shows the presence of security personnel stationed at the gate. Women continue to troop in and out of the school, some visiting the family of the vice principal who was killed, others hoping to catch a glimpse of the situation as tension remains high. At the home of the late vice principal, Mr. Hassan Makuku, family and friends are observing a second day of mourning for the family's breadwinner who left behind 9 children. His elder brother, Haliru, takes our crew around the house where the incident occurred. He appeals to the government to come to the aid of the family.
We need assistance. The late Malam left behind 9 children, 4 female, 5 male. Some are in secondary school while others have completed their education. The state government should help in giving them scholarship.
Although all students have been asked to leave the school for safety reasons, teachers still report for duty despite the absence of learners. The school has 6 hostel blocks, but the bandits whisked away students only from one of the blocks, Adamu Alero House.
As I mentioned earlier, that most of the parents are here. There is even one that fainted yesterday. She fainted here because they took 2 of her children. That is why I'm saying we are begging the state government and the federal government, please, they should come to our aid and rescue these children. Because I believe the federal government can do it and the state government can do it. Let them come. Let us join hands together. We cannot do anything with the teachers.
The school's proximity to the forest, as visible from the perimeter fence, highlights how vulnerable the students were to security threats.
And staying with the Kebbi abduction, the federal government has assured Nigerians of a safe return of the Maga schoolgirls. Vice President Kashim Shettima said this during his visit to Kebbi State to commiserate with the government and the people of the state.
Vice President Kashim Shettima touches down at the Sir Ahmadu Bello International Airport in the company of the National Chairman of the All Progressives Congress and other government officials. They are received by Governor Nasir Idris of Kebbi State. From the airport, the delegation moves to the government house, where the Vice President holds an interaction with traditional rulers and other relevant stakeholders. The Vice President is in the state on the directive of President Bola Tinubu following the abduction of schoolgirls in Maga community in Danko Wasagu local government area of Kebbi State. Aside from commiserating with the people, he notes that the President's priority is the safe return of the schoolgirls, while promising to honor late Brigadier General Musa Uba, who was allegedly killed by terrorists alongside the Vice Principal of Government Girls Comprehensive Secondary School, Maga.
Mr. President is deeply troubled by this tragedy. He shares your anguish, and he has sent me to assure you that this is not a moment for politics. This grief transcends party lines, geography, and identity. This is a time for unity, for compassion, and for firm resolve in the face of evil. This government will not relent. We'll use every instrument of the state to bring these girls home and to ensure that the perpetrators of this wickedness pay the full weight of justice.
Governor Idris appreciates President Bola Tinubu for his support, noting that the state government is complementing federal efforts by providing an enabling environment for security agencies.
Our prayer is to see these our daughters came out soon. And we have directed all our clerics in the states to continue to pray. We know they are doing, but we ask them to add more effort to ensure that day and night continue to pray so that we will see these our daughters out.
The Vice President leaves the people with a promise that the girls will be returned safely, assuring them of improved security.
And also top this week, the U.S. Congress Subcommittee on Africa held a high-stake hearing on President Donald Trump's redesignation of Nigeria. At the hearing, witness testimonies highlighted the severe insecurity challenges facing Nigeria, particularly in the north-central region.
Hearing focused exclusively on Nigeria.
Today's sitting of the U.S. Congress Subcommittee on Africa gave an opportunity to discuss the several attacks by the terrorist groups in different communities in Nigeria.
I want to thank our distinguished witnesses for being here today to bring light and scrutiny to this unfolding religious freedom catastrophe and to proffer ways to mitigate and to end the violence and the hate.
The most touching ones are from the Middle Belt, where a Catholic bishop narrates the attacks by terrorist groups.
Thousands more have been displaced, some adopted or subjected, with entire villages razed and churches destroyed. My own village of Aondana in Gwel West local government was attacked and several of my relatives killed on May 22nd, 2025. An entire convent of Reverend Sisters of the Clarisha Missionaries was displaced, along with the local Catholic parish. Within the days following that attack, nearby villages like Naka also witnessed attacks. In fact, on the 24th May 2025, one of my priests, Father Solomon Atongu, was shot and left to die in the pool of his blood.
The committee acknowledges that it's not only Christians that are under attack, as even the Muslim community is not spared.
Nigeria is facing multiple different security challenges in various parts of the country, including violent extremist groups in the northeast, criminal banditry in the northwest, and across the country, farmer-herder conflict in the Middle Belt, and other intercommunal violence in central and northern regions. Several factors are driving these conflicts. Yes, ethnicity and religion play a role in some cases, but other dynamics like poor governance, resource competition, climate change, and population pressures are important drivers that need to be addressed.
The lack of response has created an atmosphere of impunity where Christians continue to live in constant threat and fear.
In his testimony to the committee, Jonathan Pratt, former U.S. ambassador to Djibouti, describes the situation as complex, insisting on a more focused approach to the issues.
Terrorists, separatists, bandits, and criminal militias in Nigeria wreak havoc throughout the country, with ongoing attacks often deliberately targeting Christian communities. In addition to the violent Islamic extremism and banditry experienced in Nigeria's Middle Belt, there has been a surge in violent attacks across northern Nigeria by violent extremist organizations like ISIS West Africa, ISIS Sahel, Boko Haram, Jainim, and Al-Qaeda affiliate Ansaru, and Lakurawa. The ongoing violence is a problem of prioritization for the government of Nigeria. Although its military and police are engaged and taking significant losses in their counterterrorism efforts in the Northeast, the Nigerian government has not done enough to effectively combat violence in the Middle Belt.
This is certainly not a good time for Nigeria, but some of the members of Congress say they are optimistic on the way forward for the country.
Aid is important, and this should be for the victims of Fulani herder militia attacks, and this should be distributed through trusted local providers, including through the churches on the ground that are currently one of the main aid providers to the survivors of these attacks. And it's just, again, tragic and ironic that productive farmers now need food aid since they have been driven from their Middle Belt farms. 4, sanctions against those aiding, abetting, and granting impunity to the Fulani herding militias, including those sanctions should include high-level officials in the criminal justice system and the military. The U.S. should gather intelligence regarding official responses to the Fulani herder militias and review possible visa and Magnitsky sanctions for those aiding and abetting. The Fulani warlords' names are known or knowable. Out of all the, I think it's important to understand that out of all the violent attacks by Fulani herder militias, there have been only a few arrests.
I expect, as we're cooperating with the government of Nigeria on what those tools will be, if there is specific U.S. government programs or assistance that will require a waiver, and through agreement in our cooperative relationship with the government of Nigeria on what will be effective and successful, that we may need to seek waivers for some programs.
Strengthening the military and reforming the institutional weaknesses in Nigeria will indeed serve as a guarantee to the U.S. Congress and the government that Nigeria is serious about tackling the issue of insecurity, albeit Nigeria needs help.
And still ahead, more top stories from the week, including the sentencing of Nnamdi Kanu. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Still watching News Round, a recap of top stories from the week. Now, we'll see the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has been convicted on terrorism-related charges and sentenced to life imprisonment by the Federal High Court in Abuja. In his judgment, Justice James Omotosho found Kanu guilty of counts 1, 2, 4, 5, 6 of the 7-count charge presented by the Department of State Services.
Heavy security presence outside the Federal High Court, Abuja, is indicative of the magnitude of the case at hand. Inside the court, years of legal battle is culminating to the judgment in the trial of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. The defendant is in the court with his friends and family ahead of the commencement of the proceeding.
You may sit up, please.
At the beginning of the hearing, the judge dismissed 3 fresh motions filed by Kanu for lacking merit. Kanu had argued that the court could not proceed with the judgment for the day because he was yet to file his final written address. Things quickly degenerated as Kanu accused the judge of being biased, claiming that he did not know the law.
This is a court of law. I'm under trial. I'm under trial. I have to speak. I am under trial and I have to speak. Listen to me. Listen to me, please. I am under trial. I am under trial.
Please use the microphone.
I'm under trial. And I must address the court. Please. Wait. No, listen to me. Please. The judge must listen to me. No, wait. Wait. I'm asking a very simple question. No, wait. Please. Look, this is the Supreme Court. Wait, hold on. This Supreme Court here. Hold on a second. I said, hold on. May you please, your lordship? Please.
Following the outburst, Justice Omotosho ordered his removal from the courtroom and subsequently suspended the proceeding for a while.
Any judgment, let it be on record. Any judgment given in this court is rubbish. Ask him where is the law. Ask Omotosho, where is the law?
They resumed the hearing after the recess, which lasted less than 5 minutes. The trial judge continued the judgment with Kanu in absentia.
Since 2015, I hold without hesitation.
The judge held that the threats of violence and killings, including the declaration of sit at home in Nigeria's southeast region, the defendant's broadcasts of terror. He was subsequently found guilty and convicted on counts 1 and 2.
I called my noble lord M.L. Gabbard, JSC.
He was also found guilty and convicted for belonging to IPOB, which had been proscribed, and its affiliate, the Eastern Security Network.
We are disengaged to act as legal consultants.
Justice Omotosho held that his many broadcasts incited his followers to violence, which resulted in the killing of security personnel and the destruction of properties, including police stations.
The defendant was not on the manifest.
While convicting Kanu on all the 7 counts charges, the judge held that the prosecution had sufficient credible evidence to establish a case against him. He added that the court had no option than to believe the evidence of the prosecution, since the defendant failed to enter his defense but chose to gamble by resting his case on that of the prosecution.
This, in the case of Federal Republic of Niger versus Nnamdi.
Before the sentencing, the prosecution counsel asked the court to pass a death sentence on the defendant.
Prescribed for the offenses in counts 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 is death penalty.
However, a member of the House of Representatives pleaded for clemency.
I plead for mercy. Appeal for clemency, and I appeal for peace and for stability of not just the Southeast, but as well as Nigeria.
The justice subsequently sentenced him to life imprisonment on counts 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6.
There are instances where a person commits.
He was sentenced to 20 years imprisonment without an option of fine for counts 3, which relates to the offense of belonging to a proscribed terrorist group.
Restrictions, authorizations.
For count 7, which borders on his unlawful importation of a radio transmitter for the purpose of furthering the activities of Radio Biafra, which was not registered in Nigeria, the judge sentenced him to 5 years imprisonment without an option of fine.
Power and authority or jurisdiction on court.
The judge noted that Kanu had been unruly all through the trial and said the law allowed the courts to sentence him to death for the terrorism offences, but being a Christian, he chose to be merciful to the defendant.
By pronouncement, take away.
Justice James Omotosho further ordered that Nnamdi Kanu be kept in a protective custody in any part of the country, but not in Kuje Prison, Abuja, and that the radio transmitter be forfeited to the federal government.
And to top comments this week, corruption in the judiciary undermines democracy. So justice in Nigeria must never be compromised. And that's coming from President Bola Tinubu. The president stated this at the opening of the 2025 All-Nigerian Judges Conference of the Superior Court in Abuja, where he also reaffirmed his commitment to modernizing courts and improving welfare of judiciary workers.
The 2025 All-Nigerian Judges Conference is on the way at the National Judicial Institute, gathering judges from across the country to review justice delivery and reforms. President Bola Tinubu leads top government officials, justices, as well as legal experts to deliberate on entrenching efficiency, integrity, and public trust in the judiciary.
At this pivotal moment in our nation's judicial landscape, we must confront the realities that threaten the very foundation of public trust in our system. The judiciary occupies a unique position as the guardian of democratic stability, and it is upon us to safeguard that trust through principled and impartial adjudication.
In his address, President Tinubu reiterated his support for a fearless, modern, and independent judiciary.
We cannot build a just society without a fearless and functional judiciary. In this period, we have resolved to provide institutional and material support that will enable our courts to perform their duties with dignity, confidence, and efficiency.
He added that justice must never be bought or influenced, warning that corruption in the bench threatens national stability.
Justice must never be for sale. The bench must never become a sanctuary for compromise. Corruption in any form or any arm of government weakens the nation, but corruption in judiciary destroys it to the core. When justice is compromised, government loses its integrity and democracy loses its foundation.
The conference is expected to produce reforms that will strengthen the courts and reinforce their role as the last hope of the common man. Benny Ark, Channels Television News.
And also top outside our shores, at least 16 people have been killed and 5 reported missing and thousands evacuated as torrential rains unleashed severe flooding and landslides across central Vietnam. Authorities say rainfall has surpassed 1,100 millimeters in several areas of central Vietnam, which hosts a key coffee-producing region and popular beaches, but is prone to storms and floods. Authorities have also warned that the disaster could heavily disrupt the country's crucial coffee harvest. Landslides and flooding have also cut national highways and railway lines, hampering rescue operations and leaving communities isolated. Emergency teams have been deployed to the area, rescuing nearly 10,000 people, and authorities are preparing to evacuate further 27,000 residents from high-risk downstream areas. And those are the top stories for the week. Thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. I'll be back at the top of the hour.